us and save us. Amen. Christ is among us.
He is my shepherd.
Please have a seat for a minute. We're setting up outside, so I'm going to preach for a couple of minutes. So today, not only is the procession of the Holy Cross and the anniversary of the baptism of Bruce, but also the commemoration annually of the Holy Maccabean Martyrs. The Holy Maccabean Martyrs have a special kind of place in the church calendar because we call them the Holy Martyrs, but they lived before Christ. They were martyrs for God and for the faith, yet before Christ had come. The Maccabean period was a couple hundred years before Christ. And at that point, Alexander the Great had conquered eastward and wiped out of his way the Babylonian and Persian structures and implanted in their states of Hellenic or Greek-speaking rulers. And so by this time, Jerusalem was under the control, and Judea was under the control of Hellenistic rulers. And they brought their own kind of culture and their own religion, and they were considered to be, quite educated, quite posh. They built gymnasiums and all these things. They had all the ancient civilization trappings that we think of with the ancient Greeks. And the Jewish people were under the thumb of this, much as they would later be under the thumb of the Romans during this time. And there was a push to Hellenize the culture, that is to say, make it more like the pagans. And this has always been there was always the problem, right? They were constantly under pressures from the surrounding nations, the Canaanites and then the Babylonians and then the Persians, to conform to the ruler's culture. And in the midst of this, there arose a persecution, which would be very similar to the persecutions that we would see later under the Romans. And there were there was an elder, Eleazar, and they wanted to force him to make a gesture of acceptance of Hellenic culture. And if I'm not mistaken, it was nothing more flagrant than to break the kosher law and to eat some pork. But he understood that in their mind it was nothing. For him, as a faithful person of God, he would be asked to deny his relationship, his covenant with God, and to turn his back on the faith of his ancestors. And as an old man, he said, you know what? I've lived my whole life faithful to God. What am I going to gain if I give in now? A couple of years? What benefit is it to me? Rather, if I gave in now, wouldn't I be giving a terrible example to the young people? Wouldn't I be giving a horrible example to my people about the value of their faith? And so he had the choice, death or pork. He chose death, boldly and bravely. And he became a holy martyr as a result. And then, seeing this, there was a family. The mother is here in the icon, St. Solomonia. And she had, how many sons was it? 7 sons? The 7 sons of the Maccabees, I think. And each one of them, in turn, came face to face with the persecution and had to make a choice as to whether they would live or die. Pork or death? And they chose death. These young men were an incredible example to the entire nation, because they chose, rather than to just give in, to make a stand symbolically for their faith, for fidelity to their holy tradition. And it galvanized the people, and of course you may remember what happened next. A guy named Judah, the Hammer, from which we get the term Maccabeus. I always think of like wrestlers, like they have these big, just like, Judah the Hammer is coming to get you. And he did. He cleared up the house. He drove them out, and they were able to take back the temple from the pagans, and they cleansed it, and they re-sanctified it and rededicated it, and that became the basis of what holiday,
Yes.
Hanukkah, right. But it was the sacrifice of the martyrs, Eleazar and the 7 boys, and then their mother, who was, gave up her soul in sorrow for this, but stood firm and said, "Yeah, no, don't be afraid, my boys." She was a martyr too, because she stood by and encouraged her sons to stay true. When she could have said, "No, no, 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 don't do this to me. Don't leave me. I don't want to feel that pain." She could have said that, but she didn't. She said, "Be true to God." And the reason that they did it, by the way, was because they knew and they believed that they would rise again from the dead. They had a firm and unwavering faith in the resurrection from the dead. And that became an important part of their theology. The Pharisees actually had a very strong theology of the resurrection. And Jesus appealed to that and taught them, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me shall never die." So therefore, they are the pre-martyrs of the entire Christian movement, basically, because of that faith in the resurrection. And the reason I'm telling you all the story is because it's edifying in and of itself. Is because we were celebrating in our liturgy today our young people who are now going off into the world that Alexander built, a world that is a mixture of tradition and novelty, a world that is a tradition of secularism and sacrality. And you will be faced with many choices like these Maccabean martyrs of given in little ways, compromise your faith in little ways, compromise your fidelity to your relationship to God in order to get along better with the culture or with the powers that be. And every time those things happen, you have a chance to be a martyr. Now, so far, we don't expect that to lead to death. Maybe it'll just be an awkward look, or "Oh, she's one of those," or "He's one of those." Maybe you'll be a little bit ostracized once in a while. But you will also galvanize the Christians around you, and you will inspire those who don't have any faith, because they will wonder, how could somebody have such courage to stand up to such peer pressure? What is it that moves them and motivates them and inspires them? I want that. I don't want to be a coward who lives in fear of what people think. You could be the person that changes another person's life. Because it's great to see an old guy do it, right? We expect old guys to hopefully, know what to do by now, right? Like Eleazar. It's sad when they don't. But to see your fellow young people standing firm in the faith when so many have not, that is a really encouraging sign. And so all those prayers that we had today for our young people is, yes, it's prayers for you to be successful in school, but also to be illumined by the Holy Spirit in that process. To go and learn things that will actually infill your life with beauty and truth, so that you can be a beacon to the rest of the world. And so my prayer is for all of our young people that they do that, no matter where they go, if they're going to school this year, or they're delayed because of the pandemic, or they're just going into the workforce and they just want to start their life off. You all have this opportunity to be inspired by the Maccabeans and to be an inspiration in turn to others because of your faith in the resurrection and your fearlessness in the face of whatever comes your way. So Christ is among us. With all that in mind, we're going to process now with the cross. We're going to come out. If you're ready? Yeah. Good. I'll carry the cross, and Father Deacon with the censer, and the subdeacon, the choir. You want to go first? You'll follow us, okay? And then if the door wardens can maybe hold the doors open so we can pass, and then some of the ushers to come and just have us follow. As we go out, try to maintain like 6 feet between you and the next party, and then we're gonna process out to the back where we have a table set up for the blessing of the waters. We'll do the blessing of the waters. You can stay for that if you like. After that, we'll process back in and put the cross back here for the next few days. Thanks everybody who joined in. We're going to cut our broadcast now since we're going outside.